In the last 2 years, 6 countries across Western and Central Africa suffered what the UN has called an epidemic of coups. That number is now 7. Today, soldiers in Gabon seized power immediately after election results were announced. Gabon is an oil-rich country and one of France's most important allies in Africa. Nick Schifrin reports on what led to the coup and what it means for the region.
In Gabon, an election is erased to thunderous applause. Residents of the capital Libreville filled the streets to celebrate what they called their liberation. They declared the ruling family's 55-year reign over. They thanked the army for launching the coup. And they called for their former colonists, France, to clear out.
This is Independence Day. The army has freed our country. We didn't know we could be freed. Today we are free.
Shortly before, military officers closed the borders, dissolved state institutions, and declared they're in charge.
The organization of the August 26, 2023 elections did not meet the conditions for a transparent ballot. In addition, irresponsible and unpredictable governance has led to a steady deterioration in social cohesion, threatening to drive the country into chaos.
The results of that election had been announced just hours earlier. Ali Bongo re-elected for a 3rd term. He's been president since 2009. The 41 years before that, the president was Ali's father, Omar Bongo. From house arrest today, Ali Bongo appealed for international help.
To make noise for the people here have arrested me.
In Washington, National Security spokesman John Kirby called the coup deeply concerning.
We will remain a supporter of the people in the region, a supporter of the people of Gabon, and on their demand for democratic governance.
Gabon is the 7th country in Central and Western Africa to suffer a coup since 2021. But unlike those countries across the Sahel, suffering from Islamist insurgencies and internal power struggles, Gabon's problems stem from the Bongo family dynastic rule. For decades, Ali and Omar Bongo have been staunch French allies and enjoyed French patronage. French companies dominate the country's oil ministry. Gabon's a wealthy member of OPEC, but 1/3 of the country lives in poverty. This afternoon, the junta introduced the new head of state who, until yesterday, led the Republican Guard that was supposed to be protecting Bongo. To discuss the coup and what it means for the region, I turn to Oge Anubogo, the director of the Africa program at the Wilson Center. She joins me now from Washington. Thank you very much. Welcome to the NewsHour. How much of the cause of the coup is the election itself? No international observers, no international media. They turned off the internet right afterward. And how much is, as we just highlighted, the Bongo dynastic family rule?
Thank you very much for having me. I think, as you've rightly pointed out, there is a lot of citizen frustration with the current status quo in the country. I think over time we've been seeing a lot of frustrations about the fact that the systems of government isn't delivering for the people. While on paper, Gabon is seen as a country with a high GDP, unfortunately, this doesn't reflect to everyday life. So we've seen a lot of frustration from citizens on the ground, especially with the fact that you've had one country in a leadership position, the Bongo family, that has been ruling Gabon for over 50 years.
And so when we see these scenes that we just highlighted of people filling the streets celebrating, that is, what, a genuine national reflection of frustration, both of the election and the last half century?
It's not necessarily a celebration of the coup, but a celebration of an opportunity for a transition. Doesn't necessarily mean it's in support of the military, but it's more or less citizens voicing showing a sign of relief that perhaps this could be an opportunity to transition to something better than what they're coming from. So not necessarily a support for the military.
Zooming out, let's look at that map again that we showed in the story. Coups in 7 countries since 2021. Each is different, of course, and we highlighted how Gabon is unique. But is democracy in Africa in decline?
I think, to put it directly the way you've put it, yes, it is in decline. Yes, there is a concern among citizens, obviously across the board. There is a huge gap between the demand for democracy on the citizen side and a supply for democracy on the governance side. Unfortunately, that gap between demand and supply continues to widen across the continent, where for many, they want to see democracy deliver. They want to see the dividends of democracy. They want to be able to see this translate into better livelihoods. And unfortunately, this isn't happening. So we're seeing a trend where the gap between demand, citizen demand for democracy is widening due to a lack of proper supply or responsive governance to the needs of citizens. Unfortunately, as that gap widens, then you have actors such as military actors that will cease to take advantage of this widening gap. To present themselves as an alternative to a government that isn't responding to the people.
And what are the implications for U.S. interests as that gap widens?
I think in the long run for U.S. interests, it is clear that there's a strong case to be made for continued U.S. support to governance and strengthening democratic institutions of governance on the continent. At the end of the day, this should give the U.S. and other international actors an opportunity to really take an honest inward look at their approaches towards partnering with governments and, most importantly, people in the different countries to strengthen democratic institutions of governance. So the opportunity is still there for honest U.S. and international engagement and partnership with citizens in the different countries.
Oge Anubogo of the Wilson Center, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.